When you live in the light, you assume the whole world is just as bright.
Must you always look at such filthy and dark things?
Do you think I want to see them? Do you think I have a choice? For many, youth is not a grand carnival, but a silent scream where no matter how hard you cry out, no sound comes out. A long, damp period of drowning. This isn't a story about romance, it's about a lowly life and the reality of struggling for survival with every ounce of strength in the mire of despair. Today I will risk suffocation to dive into that river of sadness, all the way to the bottom, a deep dive into the film that shattered the hearts of many and allowed those living in fear to see their own reflections on screen for the first time. Cry Me a Sad River. The story is set in the damp old alleys of Shanghai. Far from skyscrapers and neon lights, there are only mottled peeling walls, cobweb-like tangled wires and laundry that never seems to dry. With a shaky lens, we are transported to the city's most oppressive corner, where the youth of our protagonist Yi Yao begins. She is an ordinary high school girl, yet she carries the burden of a family that brings her nothing but shame in the neighborhood. Her father left and remarried when she was young, leaving her and her mother Lin Fenghua to depend on each other. This bond is no warm sanctuary. Instead, it is rife with sharp conflict and pain. To make ends meet, her mother works as a massage therapist at home. The crushing weight of life leads her to vent all her bitterness toward her ex-husband onto Yi Yao. It is as if her daughter's very existence is the ultimate proof of her failed life. The atmospheric world building at the start of the film isn't just a backdrop, it is a narrative in itself. In this alley, where laundry never dries, it serves as a metaphor for Yi Yao's inescapably damp and heavy youth. Yet tragedy often stems from a neglected and seemingly insignificant detail. A greasy middle-aged man came for a massage, and after they failed to agree on a price, he asked to take a shower in their home, to earn a bit extra and to save herself some trouble. Her mother Lin Fenghua casually handed him a towel. After he finished, the towel was carelessly hung back in its original spot, without being properly cleaned or disinfected. For Yi Yao, this catastrophic nightmare began right here, quietly and unexpectedly descending upon her. One morning, she suddenly felt a sensation from her body, an unbearable sharp pain that filled her heart with dread. Instinctively, she wanted to reach out to her mother for help, but she was impatiently brushed off by her mother, who was busy on the phone. Yi Yao was left to endure this unknown panic all by herself. She rushed to the library and typed her symptoms into the computer. When those shocking, stark words flashed across the screen, she was seized with fear. A 17-year-old girl who had never even had a boyfriend. How could she have contracted such a disease? So she went to the hospital alone in secret. The cold medical instruments and the doctor's cold, scrutinizing gaze made her feel a suffocating sense of humiliation. Diagnosis was brutal, the doctor told her. That treatment would be expensive, 500 yuan for a single laser session, not including the cost of topical medications, for a family that couldn't even afford a new school uniform. This was undoubtedly an astronomical sum. When Yi Yao learned of her diagnosis, her first thought wasn't how to treat it, but a sense of endless shame and fear. She was terrified of anyone finding out, afraid of the judgmental labels that would be hurled at her like heavy stones. Social stigmatization made the psychological burden of the disease far outweigh its physical harm. Desperate, she ran out of the hospital, wanting to confess everything to her mother. "I'm not feeling very well."
"You're just trying to trick me into giving you money for medicine, aren't you?"
Amidst her mother's biting sarcasm, she swallowed all her words and tears, burying them deep inside. This moment serves as the tragic catalyst for the entire film. An unsterilized towel represents more than just a lack of basic hygiene. It reflects the cruel reality of life, at the bottom where survival leaves no room for such details. Yi Yao's plight magnifies the issue of social stigmatization surrounding the disease. When a disease is viewed through a moral lens, the psychological toll on the patient becomes truly devastating. Yet Yi Yao's bleak life is not entirely devoid of light. Qiming, the boy next door, has been her childhood companion, and the only source of light in her youth. Qiming and Yi Yao exist in two completely different worlds. He's the quintessential golden boy, the school heartthrob class president, and a top student. More importantly, he comes from a happy, well-to-do family. When Qiming gave her a bouquet of flowers, she stared at them, lost in thought. These flowers are so beautiful, but they'll probably wither in just a couple of days. This isn't just a prophecy about the flowers. It's a dark omen of her own lowly existence. Qiming cares for her, yet their worlds are separated by an insurmountable chasm. When Yi Yao finally starts fighting back against the relentless bullying, Qiming's first instinct is to judge her for becoming crude.
Do you really have to look at those dirty and dark things?
Do you think I want to see them? Is this what I chose? Yi Yao's retort is one of the most heart-wrenching and iconic lines in the film. It perfectly encapsulates the vast cognitive divide between two social classes and two very different lives. Cacti aren't flowers, they aren't meant to be held in the palm of your hand. Chi Ming is a greenhouse flower. He can never understand the wild cactus, nor the pain and helplessness of having to grow spikes just to survive. As the most controversial character in the story, I believe he reveals a more complex issue. Blind spot of kindness Chi mingles in the light. His world is sterile, pristine, and full of goodwill. He gives Yi Yao milk tutor's hair, and even steals money to give to her. This was the extent of his kindness. But there is a fatal flaw in this kind of kindness. He's like someone on the shore tossing a lifebuoy to a drowning person, but he never thought to dive in and experience that coldness and despair himself. He isn't a bad person, he's just a good person who has been protected too well. The turning point of the story comes with the arrival of a transfer student, Tang Xiaomi. Tang Xiaomi is beautiful, seemingly sweet and harmless. But deep down, she harbors a darkness twisted by her past experiences. Ironically, she was once a victim of school bullying herself. At the beginning of the film, Yao witnessed a girl transfer schools after being bullied by classmates. That girl was Tang Xiaomi. When she enters a new environment to avoid becoming a target again, she chooses the most tragic path, becoming an even more powerful bully. Tang Xiaomi soon falls for Qi Ming, the golden boy, adored by everyone. But Qi Ming's special concern for Yi Yao plants a seed of jealousy in her heart, because Qi Ming stayed to look after Yi Yao when she fainted from illness. He missed Tang Xiaomi's birthday party. This seed quickly took root and grew into a towering malice. By a stroke of chance, the malicious Tang Xiaomi follows Yi Yao to a dingy, run-down clinic. Coupled with the flyers about skin diseases she saw at the clinic's entrance, she immediately put the pieces together. She held up her phone, a predatory grin of excitement flashing across her face like a hunter finding prey. This secret she uncovered became her most vicious weapon against Yi Yao. Soon, through Tang Xiaomi's calculated spreading of rumors, the news of Yi Yao's illness spread throughout the campus like a plague. Yi Yao, already marginalized for her poverty overnight, became the primary target for the entire school's mockery and emotional venting. Pathogen became her new name. Classmates attacked her with the vilest language, eyeing her with contempt, curiosity, and a twisted sense of excitement. Red ink was splashed onto her uniform, leftover food was dumped into a lunch tray, and notes with insulting slurs were pinned to her back. Things escalated even further on the playground, where a mob surrounded her and poured a basin of filthy water over her head. In this collective carnival of cruelty, those self-proclaimed good students may not have lifted a finger, but they looked on coldly and whispered in the shadows. Their silence and inaction rendered them the largest group of silent accomplices in this bullying. What drove Yi Yao to utter despair was that throughout this ordeal, no one wanted to hear her explanation. No one cared about the truth. She simply found it entertaining to humiliate her, treating it as a rare diversion from the monotony of school life. I believe Tang Xiaomi's character serves as a profound warning. She vividly illustrates the concept that violence is contagious. Her jealousy and hatred toward Yi Yao stem from more than just Qi Ming. She projected all the self-loathing from her own past as a victim entirely onto Yi Yao. It was as if by doing so, she could sever ties with her own shameful past. Thus, violence and malice spread like a virus. It spreads from one person to another. What makes school bullying so terrifying is precisely its collective nature. The mentality that there is safety in numbers, which allows every participant to shirk their responsibility without a trace of guilt. They never realized that it was these countless seemingly insignificant acts of malice that converged into a mountain heavy enough to crush a person, just as Yi Yao was about to be swallowed by endless darkness. A ray of light shone in from an unexpected direction. This person was Gu Sangxi, mischievous and rebellious. He possessed a heart kinder and purer than any of the honor students. Their first meeting was quite dramatic. Yi Yao reached into a pool to retrieve her bag maliciously thrown in by classmates. Gu Sengxi happened to pass by, and mistaking her for being suicidal, howled her out of the water. This absurd misunderstanding became the only splash of color in Yi Yao's otherwise bleak youth. Who would commit suicide in such a shallow pool? You could have just squatted down. Zhengxi was like a rising sun. When Yi Yao confessed her illness to him, he didn't show the disgust or contempt others did. Instead, he comforted her in a relaxed and warm manner.
But some kids get it when they're only a few years old. And what did those kids do wrong? You don't necessarily get it that way.
For Yi Yao, who had long been burdened by heavy shackles, these words made her feel understood and respected. For the first time, Gu Zengxi believed in her and encouraged her to learn to fight back. Under Gu Zengxi's influence, Yi Yao's inner strength began to resurface. When her classmate stuck chewing gum in her hair again, she didn't hesitate to stick it right back onto them. When someone called her a pathogen behind her back, Gu Zengxi would accidentally hit them with perfectly aimed basketballs. In the cafeteria, when a boy deliberately knocked over her tray and then shifted the blame onto her, Yi Yao finally snapped. She grabbed a cleaning hose and charged frantically at those who had bullied her amidst the spraying water. She felt an unprecedented sense of catharsis and relief. Gu Zengxi's presence did more than just protect Yi Yao. More importantly, he helped her reclaim her dignity as a human being. He shattered the inherent power balance between the bully and the victim. It shows us that when facing bullying, blind tolerance only invites more intensified abuse. Only by bravely showing one's fangs can one carve out a space for survival. Meanwhile, another form of warmth arrived in a tragic manner. Desperate for medical fees, Yi Yao tried to steal money from home, only to be caught red-handed by her mother. During the heated confrontation, Yi Yao's long-repressed emotions finally erupted. Crying, she defended herself, shouting that she hadn't been reckless, that she never went to hotels and never used anyone else's towel. When the word towel hit Lin Fenghua's ears, she froze instantly. Her gaze fell blankly upon that old towel hanging on the wall. Her memory flashed back to the afternoon the greasy guest visited in that moment. All the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. The truth, like a razor-sharp blade, pierced through her numb heart. This woman who usually did nothing but abuse and berate her daughter suddenly raised her hand, and with all her might dealt herself a resounding slap across the face. That slap was laden with bottomless guilt and a long-overdue sense of heartache. She stepped forward and took her daughter's hand with an unprecedented sense of resolve. "I'm taking you to see a doctor." The glow of the sunset, the silhouettes of the mother and daughter walking together, stretched long into the distance. Yi Yao finally received this long-overdue motherly love. Her illness was cured. Her mother also began to learn how to express her care, albeit clumsily. Life finally seemed to be getting back on track seeing this. I feel that her mother's love had always been there. It was merely distorted by the grueling hardships of life. This plot also reminds us that love and understanding are the ultimate cures for all wounds. Another warm moment comes from Gu Zengxi's twin sister Gu Zengxiang. Gentle and kind, she is a true campus idol. Once Yi Yao got her period in the restroom, but had no pads and was mocked by others. It was Gu Zengxiang who passed the scented sanitary pad to her through the door crack. Yi Yao later told Qi Ming, "I never knew that scented sanitary pads even existed in this world." This sentence fully captures the sense of inferiority and heartache caused by the class divide. But fate was not done with Yi Yao. Yet she happened to cross paths with Tang Xiaomi, who was being bullied by her former classmates. It turned out that Tang Xiaomi had gotten into trouble with local thugs. To save her own face, Tang Xiaomi viciously threatened to kill Yi Yao if she dared to speak a word of it. "Finen, just try me. Let's see if you kill me first or if I speak out first." This impulsive, angry retort completely ignited Tang Xiaomi's malicious desire for revenge. She hired those thugs intending to teach Yi Yao a painful lesson. The thugs sent Yi Yao a text asking if she was Qi Ming's girlfriend and told her to meet them. Saying the message, Yi Yao assumed they were looking for Qi Ming's actual girlfriend. In everyone's eyes, Qi Ming and Gu Zengxiang were the perfect couple. So Yi Yao instinctively forwarded the text to the kind-hearted Gu Zengxiang. Gu Zengxiang followed the text's instructions without a second thought, only to be cornered by a group of thugs. In her panicked attempt to escape, she accidentally fell through a dilapidated railing and died instantly. Gu Zengxiang's death was like a sudden devastating avalanche. It completely crushed the world where Yi Yao had just seen a glimmer of hope. The police investigation revealed that the text luring Gu Zengxiang into death trap had been forwarded by Yi Yao. Though she wasn't the direct killer in everyone's eyes, she was the one responsible for Gu Zengxiang's death. Qi Ming, once her only light, no longer believed her, refusing to even speak another word to her. In his eyes, Yi Yao had become the murderer of the girl he loved. Gu Zengxi, who had once given her hope and courage, might have struggled with a part of him wanting to believe her, but the death of his own sister was a grief too heavy to bear. He could only choose to keep a cold distance from Yi Yao. This became the final straw. The entire school attacked her even more frantically, branding her a murderer. As rumors overwhelmed her, Yi Yao desperately tried to explain, but no one would listen. She frantically tried to scrub away the insults written on the ground, but she could never erase the deep-rooted prejudice in people's hearts. What truly killed Yi Yao wasn't Gu Zengxiang's death, but the absolute isolation and mistrust from the world. When even Qi Ming, once the closest to her, and Yu Sengshi, who gave her hope, both turned their backs on her. This crushing sense of being forsaken by the entire world was enough to destroy her every will to survive. Desperate Yi Yao went to the riverbank alone. She wanted to end it all with death to prove her innocence. Even at the final moment, as she stood on the very edge of death, the onlookers were still fanning the flames with their words, recording the spectacle with their phones.
Is she really the murderer? Don't see
The killer must be her. It wasn't me.
The text. If it's not her, then who?
I didn't do it.
She definitely killed them.
Only Gu Sengshi rushed over at the last second, pushing through the crowd, shouting for Yi Yao to come down, trying to stop the callous spectators. But his voice was drowned out by the roar of the crowd. Facing this group of senseless executioners, Yi Yao finally snapped. Through her tears, she used her last ounce of strength to scream the most soul-stirring and heart-wrenching monologue of the entire story. You've called me the foulest names and made up the filthiest nicknames. Those who laid a hand on me, and those who didn't, you're all the same. You are colder than stone. You're cowards, you just blindly follow whatever others do. You are eager to see one more person die, just because your own lives are so pathetic and dull. Because you believe you'll never have to face the consequences. Murderer who killed Gu Xingqiang. I don't know who it was, but the ones who are killing me. You know exactly who you are. Every word is a blistering indictment of the bullies, and a heavy interrogation of the onlookers' consciences. With those final words, Yi Yao turned around without hesitation or regret. Like a kite with its strings severed, he plunged into the murky, icy waters. At that moment, the world seemed to fall silent. The phones held high were finally lowered, and those jeering faces instantly froze. A massive splash rose up like the final helpless sigh of youth. Yi Yao's accusation strips away the facade, exposing the fig leaf covering the hearts of bullies and bystanders alike. Fortunately, at the last moment, the film offers a final shred of tenderness to both Yi Yao and the audience. As for the original novel, the ending is a total tragedy for every character. The moment Yi Yao sinks into the water, Gu Sengshi dives into the river without a second thought. After a desperate search in the frigid water, he finally grasps her hand, drags her ashore, and Yi Yao survives. At the end of the film, a police investigation is launched, and the truth finally comes to light. Tang Xiaomi's orchestration of the bullying in the back alley, which indirectly caused Yu Zhengxiang's death, is revealed, and she is taken away by the police. Legal retribution and a well-deserved prison sentence await her. Watching her break down in tears, we feel no sympathy, only the relief of seeing justice served. Qingming's family moves away, and Yi Yao does not go to see him off. Before leaving, Qingming takes one last look at the alleyway that holds all their shared memories. Ultimately, he was just a passerby in her life. His cowardice and lack of empathy meant he could never shoulder the heavy burden of Yi Yao's reality. Zhengxi also transfers to another school, but before he goes, he leaves Yi Yao with the most precious gift of all. In the final shot, we see Yi Yao wearing a clean white sweater, sitting quietly by the river. This time, the sun is shining brightly. As she gazes at the water, her eyes are no longer filled with hollow despair, but with a sense of peace and composure after surviving a catastrophe. The scars remain, but she has learned to live with them and move forward with her life. Cry Me a Sad River is the first domestic youth film to directly and unflinchingly depict school bullying. Its significance transcends cinema. It no longer whitewashes the harsh reality. It no longer tells stories of trivial adolescent angst, but bravely trains the lens on those forgotten in the corners. Children crying silently in the dark. Every character in the film serves as a microcosm of real society. Yi Yao represents the vulnerable groups struggling in the face of adversity, while Qiming represents the kind but sheltered and ignorant majority. Tang Xiaomi is a warning reminding us of how terrifying the cycle of violence can be, and Gu Sengxi represents the justice and courage that should reside within every one of us. He is the beacon of idealism, the hope that pierces the darkness. We may not have the power to be the sun that illuminates the world, but at least we can choose not to be the snowflake that fuels the avalanche. A tissue offered or a kind smile may not change the world, but you might just become that beam in someone's life that dispels the darkness, a unique glimmer of light.